All right, y'all. Welcome back to the TLW podcast. I'm joined by my partner Jonathan Pixley right here, my partner Jason Augustus behind the scenes, and LSU great. I like to introduce him as an LSU track and
Good
field
point.
great who played football as well. But my good friend Eddie Kennison. Eddie, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast, man.
Oh, Sean, thank you guys for having me, man. It's such a pleasure and an honor to join you guys.
Yeah, I tell you what. It's been a while where we've been talking about, having individuals come hang out with us on this podcast. And, Coach Pixley knows a whole lot more cool people than I do. But whenever you're talking about individuals we want to have on, you're one of the first names I thought of, not just because of all the things that you've done in athletics, but over the years with our sons being the same age, watching them grow up in sports together, just knowing how you operate, knowing how much you love people and how much you pour yourself into everything you do is you're top of the list for people who want to have on here to talk to and just kind of hear some stories about life and then kind of dive into a few things.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Thanks for having us. I'd like to real quick, if you don't mind, just give us a minute, talk about the pod that you're running because I know that you're doing some great things with that, and I'd love to let our listeners know what you have going on right now.
Oh, man, I appreciate that. And for sure, it's not about me, right? And, that's the first, but I appreciate it. My podcast is called Go To Legends, like GEAUX, the number 2 Legends. And God put that on my heart probably about 4 years ago to go and bring legends of LSU from all sports, not just football, to come on and tell their story. Because every legend or every person has a story. It just so happened that I'm connected with LSU. And we have so many beautiful, beautiful stories and spirits and souls that have graced each sport that LSU offers. And a lot of them don't get to tell stories because they don't have or hadn't had the big names in their particular sport. But each athlete has their own respective story. So, and me, I love telling stories and I love hearing stories. And those athletes, they need to get their stories out because they're all different.
I think it's really cool. I mean, because unless you're from here, people don't really realize how many incredible athletes have come out of LSU, right? I mean, I'm a basketball guy, so I look at it and I argue to this day with anybody who will engage with me, which is very few people, but that if you took the all-time starting 5 of each university, LSU's would win. Because you'd have Chris Jackson, Shaquille O'Neal, Bob Pettit, Pete Maravich. Who's beating that team?
It's going to be tough.
And that's just a basketball team. Think about baseball. Think about football. I mean, it's incredible. So for you to have a podcast strictly geared towards that, man, you got an endless list to go down.
I tell you what, it's been pretty fun so far, and I mean the guests that we've had, man, it's been fun because a lot of times we lose or we take for granted, just seeing a person, knowing their name, but not really hearing their story. Right. And I tell you what, man, my life has gotten better just hearing stories about our LSU legends. Yeah.
That's what's up, man. That's awesome. All right, so. I don't want to dive too much into giving the whole story growing up, but we know you played ball in Lake Charles. What high school did you go to?
Washington Marion Magnet High School.
Come on, baby,
yeah,
represent. We won't say what year that was because there's no need for us to bring any negativity around here discussing our ages. But you dreamed of playing at LSU, I assume, growing up.
Well, I did not.
You did not? Okay.
I did not. LSU wasn't even on my list of schools to visit, just because LSU had a history of things back in the day. And, we can think about what those things are, but I'd heard a lot of things that was going on. So during my recruiting days, or being recruited, I should say, I visited Michigan, Florida State, Texas A&M, and those are the 3. And I didn't even have a 4th and a 5th. And it just so happened my 3rd visit was Florida State. And that's the time where Bobby Bowden, his whole football team, the Florida football program was going, bro. I'm talking about. And I went and I took a visit there and I committed on a Friday.
Come on.
Wow. I'm like, man, this is where I want to be.
This is the spot. Come on.
Saturday morning, I go into the head coach's office and he walks in and he says, Mike, I'm sure glad you're going to be a Seminole. Exactly, right? And me, I'm a person that, I don't get overexcited. I don't yell and scream. That's not me. But I simply looked up at the coach and I said, "Coach, my name is not Mike. And you know what? I'm not going to be a Seminole." And I called my head coach, my high school head coach, who was Robert Laverne at the time, rest his soul. I called him and I said, "You know what? Call LSU. Let's just go for, next weekend for a visit." We called Curly. That was Saturday night. We called Curly. I went home Sunday. Tuesday, Curly Hallman and Larry Edmondson, who was the wide receiver coach at the time, they showed up at my house on Tuesday. That Friday, I took my official visit to LSU, and rest is history.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it.
Worked out okay too.
Yeah.
It worked out pretty good. It worked out pretty good, brother.
So let's talk about you go through LSU, which doing one sport alone in college hard enough. Being All-American in two, like different level. As you're going through football season, you've told me that track was your love. You absolutely love track. How do you balance the fact that you're out there doing track while a lot of your teammates are working on the things they need to do in terms of drills with the football team and all that? Is that a challenge for you to look at that you're having to devote yourself to the other sport while the rest of your teammates are doing their initial sport?
Absolutely not, because I had teammates in both sports.
Okay, all
so
right.
I truly believe, because of my love for both sports, that I can contribute to both sports. And track was a love just because at 7 years old and running against the kids in our neighborhood, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kids, I was faster than those kids even at 7 years old. And so that just became a love of running. And to this day, at 52 years old, we said we weren't going to say our age, but at 52 years old, brother, I still get out and I run. I don't run as fast, but I run, right?
That's running nonetheless, man.
That's
That's good
right.
stuff. That's still good stuff.
That's right. And it was just one of those deals where with any school that was recruiting me, I made it a point to say, I'm going to play football and I run track. And if you will allow me to do that, then I will consider your school. So those things happen. And my love for track is still to this day. I mean, I still take my son Griffin out to LSU track meets, and he runs track now, the same as Jacob, your son.
Won his heat with a 1 second PR on the 100 the other day?
100 and 200.
love
He
it,
took a
dude.
second
I
off
love it.
each one
I
of
love
those.
it.
Oh, he
I
was
love it,
he was
man.
so pumped. He was pumped, man.
I saw that smile.
Yeah.
I saw that smile. It was great.
But it was awesome, and I still love it to this day. And a lot of times in football, and I make this joke all the time, I'm like, in football, it's all guys, right?
Right.
And in track, you have a mixture of guys and girls, right? So with running track, I got to conversate and talk to not only my guy track teammates, but also my female track teammates. And I have like 3 or 4 of them to this day that are still really great friends just because of the dynamics and what track offered. And track took us worldwide. Yes, football had a bigger name, but track took us worldwide.
International, for sure.
International.
So I got to ask a question then, okay? Because I know there's some track athletes that have succeeded in the NFL. I remember Ron Brown was a guy who played for the Rams. Obviously, Herschel Walker was a track star in college. Darryl Green.
Darryl Green.
Okay. Who's the fastest DB you ever played against?
Dion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured that.
Yep, and there's a couple of times I played him, and Dion was in Dallas at the time. I was in Kansas City, and I think I played him one other time, but this particular time in Dallas, I scored twice on Dion.
Yeah. You got behind him.
Yes. And this is probably a little bit later in his career, so I know.
Not many people can say that, though.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Well,
People weren't getting behind him then either. So,
that's right.
I mean,
That's right.
That's the way to look at it.
That's right.
So if we look at the mindset that you have, coming out of high school and getting into making the change that you made last second, coming to LSU, which I imagine that had to take some mental strength and fortitude to make that decision and then go forward based on some things that may have occurred in the past. Well, that did occur in the past. And then we look at your transition and going into the league. Is your mindset, because I know you, and you're one of these individuals that I absolutely love. Whatever you do, you're at it 100%. You're not going to go into anything halfway. You've maintained that same mindset going through LSU football and then going into the league. When you get to the league, do you start to look around and say, these guys are all functioning on my level, or do you look at it and say, you know what? I still look at things a little bit different than my peers. Can you kind of speak to that for a
Yeah,
second?
I mean, and I still look at things differently to this day. My mindset is totally different from, the guys that I walk and work with or that I played with. It's just the most powerful thing I've always told myself, Sean, is that the most powerful thing that we have as human beings is choice. And every morning we get the opportunity to wake up, that God wakes us up. We have a choice to be happy, be sad, be energetic, be whatever the case may be. And I chose early on that every morning I wake up, my choice is to be happy. I give honor to God every morning when I wake up, but I choose to be happy. And I choose not to let the world around me that's happening dictate how I feel and how I go about my day. And I adopted that, probably my senior year in high school.
Okay.
And
So you can still remember specifically when you started to have that mindset then, huh?
Oh, for sure.
I love that.
No, for sure. I mean, because I was also a three-sport athlete in high school. My father was military. My grandfather was military. All my family, men in my family, they were all military guys. So everything was, it was straight to the point. It was serious. It was all of the things that military men back then did and what they said and how they went about life. And I'm like, my dad, he's a mean guy. My grandfather was a mean guy. I'm like, I don't want to be that dude walking the face of this earth. I want my choices for me, for Eddie Kennison, to be happy every day. I want to bring positive energy to not only myself, but the people who infiltrate my circle. And I speak military terms, right? Infiltrate.
That works.
And,
I love it, man.
Yeah, man. To be happy, I want to. When you come in, I want to do my best to make sure that you left better than you came into my circle.
That's strong.
Yeah.
That's strong. So you basically have that attitude of gratitude that you're waking up with every single day, and that's setting the pulse for the day.
That's right.
I love it.
Yeah, no question.
So if you look back, okay, you enter the NFL. How many teams do you end up playing for?
5 teams.
Okay, so 5 teams. So the transition from team to team, because it's a business, right?
That's
I mean,
right.
it's just part of the deal, and you get traded. Let's find a new place to live. Let's find school for the kids, whatever we were dealing with at the time, right? What type of mindset did it take to be able to make those transitions? So ultimately 4 different transitions, right? After you stepped on the field to begin with. But still maintain the same approach, same level of productivity, and all those things.
It doesn't change. The mindset for me does not change. Oh, I have to move? All right. Who's the best moving company?
Love it.
All right. I mean,
Oh, that's
what's
fantastic.
the best box to put our stuff in? What's the best tape to tape the box with? I mean, what is the best outcome that we can possibly have?
If you have a
in
list
this
of all those
situation?
things, by the way, the best tape and the best boxes, just share it with me because I might need that at some time soon. That's great.
And everything it should be, man. It's our attitude and how we look at it. Yes, we know that it takes work for whatever that situation is, but it's the mindset going into that situation. How do I handle that on a second by second basis? Because we all know that it can change at any point in time. But even with time change, it doesn't matter what happens. What's the best, or what can I learn in that situation at any given second?
Okay, so you learn from each of those situations, and some of the things that you learn are what not to do. Right?
That's right.
Look, it's no different. We had Ryan Terrio on our last podcast, and he talked about relationships with females, like from a standpoint of how he deals with his wife and his daughters, and he learned that from his father, right? Just mirroring what his father did, but not everybody has that father who
right.
who they want to mirror. Like a lot of people have that father that, or the grandfather or the uncle or whoever, that they're like, yeah, I know I don't want to do that. Okay, so how did you recognize those things but still maintain positivity throughout it?
It's feeling. And
Okay.
people will give you who they are at any given second. And people will give energy off in any situation. And from my grandfather, from my dad, on both my dad and mom's side, the energy that I got, I knew what I liked in energy and I knew what I didn't like in energy. I took what I loved and I shaped it and molded it to help Eddie Kennison be who Eddie Kennison needed to be, not only for me, but also for my 3 sons, and now for my grandson.
Wow.
Each one, it was never a negative situation. Either I win or I learn. I never lose at any given day or anything that I do.
Love it.
And that's a quote that I captured. Yeah, there's a picture and a meme of a lion, and it just said either I win or I learn. And I love that aspect of it. So no one has ever done anything to negatively impact me. I said, okay, I don't like that, so I'm going to nix that, but I'm going to take something good out of that and shape it and mold it into Eddie Kennison, what I want it to be.
Love it.
Yeah.
You just touched on something that I think we should dive into for just a second. You said that you either win or you learn. You don't fail.
That's right.
Which I love. I love because, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'll extrapolate on that for a second. What you're basically saying is, yeah, the result might not be what I wanted it to be, but something from what happened, I was able to learn from. So that way, when I enter that situation again, if I have in that same game scenario, or if I'm in a business and I approach the same circumstance again, I can reflect back on what happened, and I can know that when I'm in that again, a better way to handle things.
That's right. And all of us have trigger points. And when you can understand what your triggers are as a person, good, bad, or indifferent, you're able to take that and turn it into everything that you want to be positive. Even if it doesn't turn out the way you wanted, there's something that's learned in that for it to be positive moving forward.
You're a student of life, huh?
Brother, I'm still learning to this day.
I saw that degree you got recently too, man. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, brother. And I tell you what, man, in 1996, when I left for the National Football League, I left as a junior out of LSU. And my mother, she didn't care about anything else. She knew that I was in school trying to get my degree.
Okay.
And she said, okay, I will agree with this as long as you promise me that at someday you will go back and get your degree.
Yeah.
To add to that, I have my 2 older sons. And, you know, we always preach to our children, education is important. Education, go get your education. My 2 older sons, once I was done playing in the National Football League, you know, I was keep stressing to them, go to college, get your education. My 2 older sons, we sat down one day, was like, well, you don't have your degree from LSU. How are you telling us that education is important? And I was like, done deal. So with my sons and with my mother, we got that thing accomplished, and now we can sit at the table and say, Dad is a graduate of Louisiana State University.
I love that.
Yeah, brother.
Okay, I'm going to try to do something that it seems like it might be difficult to do, and that is put you on the spot. So, everybody has, every male has a male or multiple men in their lives along the way that, when asked, who helped you become who you are? Okay, who are the top 2 or 3 on your list?
Wow, brother. You're going to get me emotional on this, I promise you. One is my mom's brother. We call him Uncle Mac. He passed away 2 years ago from cancer, but he was a man's man, right?
What does that mean to you? Because that means different things to different people.
That's right. Great question. With standing in the gap, when me as a kid growing up, what am I doing? What is he seeing me do that is not of ethics and character? And him pulling my collar, not in a mean way, you know, saying, hey, dude, that's not right. This is the way this is supposed to look, or these are the things that you're supposed to do to make sure that you are geared for life and with high character and integrity. You want to go fishing? Let's go fishing. Where you want to go? You want to go hunting? Let's go hunting. Where you want to go? You want to talk about life? Let's talk about life. And let's be real about what this life is and what it can offer you. My uncle was a Marine. He was one of the Marines that was not mean, but can sit down and put his arms around you and tell you, hey, bro, I love you. And this is what this looks like. So he was the first and foremost, most manly man figure for me. The second man is Coach Dick Vermeil. We all know, or if you don't know, Coach Vermeil coached in the National Football League, coached the Philadelphia Eagles to the Super Bowl, coached the Rams to the 1999 Super Bowl, and he was my coach in St. Louis, and he was also my coach in Kansas City. But more importantly, he is, and Coach Vermeil and I, we still talk to this day, and he still calls my kids by name.
Wow.
That's cool. Yeah.
And when I tell you, handwritten notes come all the time. He still remembers birthdays. He still remember, and just standing in the gap. I still have letters from him when I was in Kansas City of him just putting notes in my locker. Hey, just remember to be an awesome father. Remember to be an awesome person. And it didn't have anything to do with football.
Yeah.
It's about standing in the gap and being a man and taking care of life's responsibilities. And it didn't have anything to do with sport. And we still talk to this day.
And he was a guy I remember very, very vividly who was not afraid to show his emotions.
That's right.
And to speak about things outside of just the game itself. And so that doesn't surprise me that you named him. But everybody, Uncle Mac, right?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody needs an Uncle Mac.
That's right.
Right. You got to have somebody, whether, sure, would it be ideal if it was your father or your older brother or whatever it is, right? But as long as you got somebody.
That's right.
Right. As long
That's
as you
right.
got somebody. Kind of following up on that. So these are your guys that helped kind of mold and shape you. Okay. You have 3 sons. Okay.
That's right.
And we talk about this pretty much on every podcast, and it's a big deal for us here at TLW as to how males treat females that are in their lives. Okay. I told everybody on the last podcast, my daughter got married this past weekend, and my big deal with my now son-in-law was you got to check 3 buckets. Okay, or you got to fill 3 buckets. One of them is respect. The second one is protect, and the third one is provide. If you do those 3 things, we're good. Okay, what's your messaging to your sons in that area?
Oh, mine is very similar.
Okay,
my 3 sons, I was married to their mother for 17 years. We were together 22. We're not together anymore. In just their mother, right? The most powerful thing, other than teaching them who Jesus Christ is the respect that I have for their mother. Still doing whatever I can when mom calls, or if she needs something, that I will be there to show up for their mother. And I promise them that doesn't matter what happens, what goes on, you have to protect, you have to provide, and you have to show up. And that's really similar to what you told your son-in-law. And it's that every single time we have a conversation. My oldest son is now married. He's in the Navy. We just had our first grandson. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I tell you, my daughter-in-law, she's a beautiful soul. And I tell you, they live in California. And what I see in my son and the messages that have been portrayed to him and continue, that I see that my daughter-in-law is probably the happiest person that you can ever meet. And how he treats her and talks to her, and how he holds and loves on his son now.
yeah,
It's unbelievable.
That's
It's
awesome.
beautiful.
That's fantastic.
Beautiful.
So one of the things that I really respect about you is how much of a man of faith you are, and how outspoken you are about it. You do a great job at putting out shorts every now and then, just talking about loving others with the love of Christ. Could you just talk for just a second, as a parent, we talk about loving with the love of Christ. Whenever you're parenting your boys, how you use that as a key, basically how you recognize the love that you've been given, and how you use that love then to foster, grow them, your kids, not just as in loving on them, but the other things that come along with parenting, discipline, hold them to a higher standard and all that. Can you just kind of speak to a second for how faith has influenced your parenting?
Yeah, and that's really simple. My words and my actions, I make sure that they match up.
That's profound. I love it.
It's really that simple.
Yeah.
And if my boys can see that my words and my actions match up with what I do with speaking about God, when you when they see me at home, what I'm saying at home and what I'm showing you at home, when we step out together and other people are coming into our circle, am I that same person?
Mm-hmm.
Am I still speaking the same? And that's the best way that I can do my best to portray who Jesus Christ is.
Practice what you preach, huh?
Practice what you preach, brother. Words and actions, they have to match up. If they don't match up, people will pick up on that. And in particular, your kids, because they're always watching, they will pick up on it. And if they know that those two things don't match up, you're doing here one way and doing there another way, they'll be like, yeah, I can't trust that dude.
It's funny. Quick shout out to Healing Place Church. If you notice this background right here, we kind of
No doubt.
had the opportunity to come over here and hang out. But building on that reminds me of something that Pastor Mike said a few months back, which it still resonates with me. He said that people don't come to church either because they know a Christian or they don't know a Christian. And so,
True.
what you just said, I think, speaks to that so much too, that outside of parenting, just in general, who are called to be as disciples for Christ is, we can say that we're one thing, but if we're not actually having the actions and the attitudes to back that up, then that's not going to do anything for the kingdom. That's not going to do anything for helping to better the world around us every single day. So.
And I have a tattoo on my arm that reminds me of that, and it's my personal motto. It says, "A man is measured by how hard he works when no one is watching."
Love it.
That's so strong.
And we know that there's one person or being that's always watching, and that's God.
Yeah.
He's always watching, brother. And when you think you're by yourself, he's there with you.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you doing in those times? Good, bad, or indifferent when you're by yourself.
That's strong.
Yeah, man.
That's strong. So to kind of, come around full circle. So how many years were you in the league total?
13 years
13
total.
years in the league. Okay,
Yes.
so you come out of the league and you're employed with LSU now, correct?
Correct.
What kind of work are you doing for LSU?
So I work for LSU Athletics, and in particular, it's called LSU Sports Properties.
Okay.
And it's mainly a marketing department where we help our larger and smaller companies in and out of Baton Rouge or domestically market their business through LSU Athletics and through all sports. So when you go into Tiger Stadium, or Alex Box, or PMAC, and you see these beautiful companies and logos on the LED boards and on the scoreboards and all of those fun things, we, as a department, we help those companies market their business through LSU Athletics.
And you bring in the same mindset into that you have when you're playing, I assume, huh?
Oh, there's no question.
No
brother.
doubt, no
There's
doubt.
no question. Either be great or go home.
Come on.
And it doesn't matter. When the idea of work or business or track or football, if you go in half-hearted or not going in full speed, then the chances of you being hurt or you hurting someone else is greater. And it's the same for business, whether it's conversations or, whether it's negotiating a contract, how with that contract being negotiated, how is that person portraying you as a person in that negotiation? Am I a firecracker? Am I someone that they just sit across the table and be like, nah, I really don't want to be here with that guy. I don't want to do business with that guy. It's the same mindset. Be great at it or, find something else to do.
I love that. It's fantastic.
So we ask our guests this question, and I can't wait to hear your take on this. So when you were at Washington Marion, okay, and let's say it's 15-year-old freshman Eddie Kennison, right? And I'm assuming you were starting on varsity at that point and all those things already probably. But Eddie Kennison today at 52 years old, who still gets out and runs and does his thing, right? Looks back at 15-year-old Eddie Kennison back at Washington Marion and Lake Charles. Knowing what you know now, what's your best advice?
It's interesting you asked that because about 5 years ago, right before the NFL draft, I think it was the 2020 NFL draft, the National Football League, they called and asked me the same question: would I write a small insert to the incoming draft class? And I was in California at the time, and it was an unexpected call, and they wanted it that evening.
Oh, wow.
And I still I actually read it probably a couple weeks ago, like right before the 25 draft. And it was simply, and this was before Mr. Furtado wrote his book, Shut Up and Listen. I wrote, and you can go back and you can probably find it on YouTube or something, but it was simply called Shut Up and Listen. And with having to pick an agent, having to pick a financial advisor, having to pick your circle to be around you, having to pick your CPA, all of these fun things, as a young Eddie Kennison, growing up where I grew up, I always wanted to change the trajectory of my family,
right,
and in particular my mother. And when the money poured in at 23 years old, I wanted to go out and buy my mom and me and our family everything, right? You take that part and you go back to 15-year-old and you say, shut up and listen. Be a steward of all things that are in your circle. Your mother, your CPA, your agent, your kids, or whoever the case may be. Be a good steward of it. And understand that at some point in professionalism, whether it's a podcast or whether it's professional sports, it will come to an end. And when it comes to an end, what do you have left to live the rest of your life?
That's strong. That's strong, man.
Yeah, man.
I gotta say, this has been an absolute joy and a privilege to have you here with us. Quick reminder for our listeners and our viewers: Go To Legends podcast.
Yeah.
Go check Eddie out with other LSU greats. See all the fun things he's having conversations with them about. Coach, I'm gonna close us out.
Hold on, I need to say something before we go because I cannot let this pass.
Let's do it.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's do it.
So thank you guys for allowing me to be on. Right,
course.
It's an honor and a pleasure. Hey, Rock, let me tell you something.
We almost forgot.
Your Zoa, brother, your energy drink, it's here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and these brothers are having it on their table, man. Hey, we hope that you're able to see this, step up, brother, and maybe you can help do something to boost this podcast more than what it is. Hey, Rock, Dwayne Johnson, Eddie Kennison here, brother. Come on, brother, let's do something.
Hey, Rock, I'll take it a step further. I've heard rumors that some guys around here will get tattoos of Zoa if you come and join us with this. So.
Ooh, nice.
We will figure it out.
We'll
That is
figure
for
it out.
sure.
Well, look, that being said, Eddie, thanks so much. Coach Picks, I'll sign us off. As we always say here at TLW, go get it.